Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about anatomical evidences. In the evolution chapter, we are going to discuss about evidences, anatomical evidences. What is why evidences? Present living organisms and once upon a time living organisms are the fossils, are the similar characters. Okay, we all are we all have common ancestors. To prove that only these are living organisms, especially mammals, the birds, reptiles, amphibians, they all have the common ancestors. To prove that only some anatomical evidences also there. That one we will be discuss. Observe very carefully, children. Why? Because these evidences they will ask in exam for I will what you called 2 marks questions or 5 marks question or 3 mark question, but I called different marks the questions they will ask. So that's why you should have to concentrate on this particular concept. So what we are discussing is anatomical evidences. What we are discussing? Anatomical evidences. For example, various organs are interconnected. Various organs are interconnected. Various organisms, not organs, organisms. Various organisms are interconnected. So, the very important. Their resemblance suggests that a common ancestry. Their resemblance, various organisms are interconnected. Their resemblance suggests a common ancestry. That point you have to remember. Common ancestry. So, common ancestry means you know very well. All organisms have common ancestry. Common ancestry. So, we all are from one common ancestry. For example, you see the heart of the fishes. How many chambers? Has only two chambers, auricle and ventricle. Amphibians, two auricle, one ventricle. Reptiles, three and a half, two auricles, one ventricle. One ventricle is incompletely divided. And mammals, two auricles, two ventricles. So, what is called two chamber to four chambered. Gradual evolution from fish to mammals happened. Gradual evolution from fish to mammal happened. So this suggests that what? Gradual evolution. So we all are coming from common ancestors. This kind of two chambered to three and a half chambered, three and a half, two chambered to three chambered, three chambered to three and a half chambered, four chambered. Like that, development of new chambers happened or not? This indicates the what is called gradual development, gradual evolution from fishes to mammals. From fishes to mammals. This is the most important point to remember. Various organisms are interconnected. Resemblance suggests that a common ancestry. Resemblance means similar. It suggests a common ancestry. Heart of fishes have only two chambers. Amphibians have two auricles, one ventricle. Fishes, one auricle, one ventricle. Reptiles, two auricles, one ventricle is incompleted, one ventricle is completely divided. It's three and a half. Mammals, two auricles, two ventricles. So this is indicates two, three and a half, four gradual evolution from fish to mammals. That is the best anatomical evidences. So the common ancestry, we all have common ancestry. Next, come to embryological evidences. This is the most important concept to discuss. Embryological evidences. What is embryology? First of all, what is embryology? The embryology is the first very important definition. The embryology is the study of development of an embryo of organism from fertilized egg to young one. Study of development of an embryo of organism from fertilized egg to young one is called embryological evidences. This is called the study about the embryos is called fertilized egg to young one. So fertilized egg will be converted to 2 cell stage, 3 cell stage. Okay, a group of cells, 2-layered embryo with 3 germinal layers, blastula, gastrula, like that is there or not? The total studies, study of development of an embryo of an organism from fertilized after fertilization egg to young one formation up to that study is called embryology. That is called study of embryology. So now this is the most important. So the study of embryology of different animals groups shows shrinking structural similarities between them. Sinking structural similarities. So stretching structural similarities between them. So embryos shows the structural similarities. Okay. For example, early embryo of the all vertebrates resemble in the same shape and structure. Early embryos of the all animals. Early embryos of the all vertebrates. Early embryos of the vertebrates shows the similar characters, resemble the shape and similar structure. Shape and structure is similar. For example, here I am telling to you what is the resemblance of early embryos of fish. Early embryos of fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, rabbit and man is so close. Early embryos of which one? Early embryos of fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, rabbit and man is so close. Very, very important. Very close. Very difficult to distinguish. We can't separate them that much from each other. We can't separate. That much closely resembles the early embryos of all vertebrates like fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, rabbit and man. So, for example, you see all multicellular organisms shows similar early developmental features. For example, all multicellular organisms from zygote, morula, blastula. Zygote means two cell stage, right? Or single cell stage, 2n condition. So morula group of cells, blastula 2 layered, gastrula 3 germ layers. So these all things are there. All these had gill pouches and a tail in embryonic stage. All these, which one? This fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, rabbit, all have the which one? Gill pouches and tail indicates all evolved from the which one? Common ancestors. All are showing similar characters. That's why all are evolved from the common ancestors. Next, embryos of this is important. Comparative study of embryo made it evident that embryos of higher groups resembles the adults of lower group. See, embryos of higher groups resembles the adults of lower group. So embryos of higher group animals resembles the adults of lower group. Embryos of higher group animals resembles the adults of lower group. For example, tadpole larva is a higher group, but fish lower group. So tadpole larva fish, it shows a similar characters or not. So that is a very, very important point. So Ernest Haeckel, based upon this, one scientist Ernest Haeckel proposed one theory, biogenetic law. What is that law name? Biogenetic law. What is biogenetic law? States that an animal in its individual embryonic development, okay, from egg to adult, repeats or recapitulates in condensed form the stages through which his ancestors have passed in the course of their evolution. So simply we can say ontogeny to repeats the phylogeny. What is the ontogeny? Life history of an individual animal. Phylogeny, evolutionary history of the animal. Ontogeny repeats the phylogeny. So life history of an individual animal repeats the in the evolutionary history of the animals. So ontogeny repeats the phylogeny. So animal embryological development to adult repeats, recapitulates in condensed form the stages. Okay, and so see for example fish larva. So fish is same characters are showing larva, repeated or not. So that is all. Embryonic development egg to adult repeats, recapitulates in condensed form the stages. Ancestors have passed in the course of their evolution. So fish passed of their evolution. So like that. Ontogeny repeats the phylogeny. Next, what is ontogeny? Life history of an individual animal. Phylogeny, evolutionary history of the animal. Next, come to the paleontological evidences. What are the paleontological evidences? This is another important point to remember. What is phylogenetic? Paleontological. Paleontology means what? The study about fossils and fossils, especially fossils. The study about the fossils is called paleontology. So paleontology, old, ancient study, old being studies. Paleontology actual meaning old being studies. So how can you define the paleontology? It's a branch of biology. It is the paleontology is the study of fossils. Paleontology is a study of fossils. Fossils are the preserved remain or impressions of the dead animals and plants that lived in the remote past. What are the fossils? Fossils are the preserved or remain impressions in the dead animals and plants that lived in the remote past. For example, bone skeleton system. The skeleton system of once upon a time lived past or ancestors are there, in the sense they will be called fossils. For example, you know very well the Jurassic Park movie, we saw some bones of the dinosaur. So that is a fossil. So these fossils are very important. The study about such kind of fossils is called paleontology. Paleontology, the study of fossils. The fossils are preserved remains or impressions. Remains means bones. Impression means some impression, some what you called symbols of the dead animals and plants that lived in remote past, some thousands of years ago they lived. So such kind of study about those fossils are called what you called paleontology. That kind of studies are called what you called paleontology. So this is the most important point to remember. Why we are discussing paleontology? First of all, what happened, how these are forming. For example, however, if the body of some of the parts remain in the environment, does not let it decompose completely. So dead body that won't decompose completely. Their body or its parts will eventually preserved by the nature. Preserved alternative leave the impression. For instance, if the dead insect gets caught in the mud, for example, dead insect caught in the mud, so it will not decompose quickly. The mud will eventually harden and retain the impression of the body parts of the insect. So the mud, insect body is there in the mud, so that mud will not decompose the dead body, so that impression will be there in the mud. This is a very important point. That impression is also called fossil. Okay, fossil occurs in the sedimentary rocks. They may also found in the peat, amber, asphalt, lava and snow. So the fossils will be there, live in the, is there in the land, found in the peat, amber, asphalt, lava, even lava and also snow also there. They provide direct evidence of the evolution. So their fossils will directly tell evidences for how evolution. Fossil records have helped to know about the extinct organisms. The fossils records are helpful to know about which one? Extincted animals, the dinosaurs. Some fossils provide link between the two groups. Okay, dinosaurs. Some fossils will tell about the link between the two groups. For example, the Archaeopteryx. What is it? The fossil Archaeopteryx shows characteristics of the both reptile characters and the bird characters. For reptile characters, what is there? Teeth, jaw, tail. And bird characters, what? Feather, beak and wings. So Archaeopteryx is a connecting link, missing connecting link between the reptiles and the birds are there. So these are the things you have to remember. So fossil have clearly shown that modern horse, see now the reptiles have the, okay, modern horse show that modern horse 5-toed ancestor which continuously become larger and number of toes of each foot decrease from 5 to 3 then to 1 is present in the horse. See, once upon a time horse have the 5 toes, but right now the new our horse have only what you call reduced into 1. So like that the evolution happened. That will be tell about our fossils, about our evolution. Fossils also help to know. Fossils also help to know about habit and habitats of the extinct animals. So where they lived, where they are survived. Okay, some fossils remains in the what you call living organisms. The fossil remains are like the organisms living today. For example, cockroach, crabs. These organisms are well adapted today as they were well adapted in the past. So cockroaches and crabs are well adapted than the previous one. So fossils will give complete information about their habitat and their complete adapted nature. Okay, for example, cockroach and crab you see are very like organisms living today. The fossils, cockroach, crab, very fossils are present today also living such kind of animals like cockroach and crab. They are adapted more than the previous same species. So like that, the fossils will be very important to study about our evolution. So how fossils formed, for example, let us start 100 million years ago. 100 million years ago, some invertebrates on the seabed die and are buried in the sand. Then what happened? More and accumulate sandstone forms under pressure. Sandstone formed. Billions of years later, dinosaurs living in that area die and their bodies too are buried in mud. This mud is also compressed into rock. So above the rock contained the earlier invertebrate fossils. So one by one, layer after layer. First what formed? First bed, what do you called? Some million years, some invertebrates. Then million years later, dinosaurs. Then the bodies of horse-like creatures. So much later, erosion of water flow. What happened? Horse-like fossils. So we will find the older fossils layer by layer. If you dig, first invertebrates, then the dinosaurs, then the horses, then the some other organisms, fossils we will be find. So 100 million years onwards, we can see that we can estimate the fossils. So this is about the fossils and evidences, paleontological evidences. Okay, what we discussed in this chapter, in this concept, in this video, first we discussed about anatomical evidences. Various organisms are interconnected, resemblance suggest a common ancestry. Example, what is the example? The example is heart of fishes. Example, heart of fishes has only two chambers, auricle and ventricle. Amphibians 2 auricles, 1 ventricle. Reptiles 2 auricles, 1 ventricle incompletely divided. 3.5. Mammals 2 auricles, 2 ventricles, 4 chambers. Gradual evolution. So like this 2, 3, 3.5, 4. Gradual evolution from fish to mammals. Good indication that these all have common ancestry. Embryological evidences. Study of development. What is embryology? Study of development of an embryo of an organism from fertilized egg to young one. Study of embryology is a very important. The structural similarities are there between the vertebrates. So I showed their vertebrate. For example, you see fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, rabbit and man. The embryos are so close, they are very difficult to distinguish them. So close from each other. For example, whatever the gill pouches, tails indicates, all evolved from common ancestors. So zygote, morula, blastula, gastrula, these all are common in this all. So embryos of higher groups resembles the adults of lower groups. The tadpole larvae is a higher group, fish is a lower group, adult. So embryo of the higher group resembles the adult of lower group. This is called one theory. This is called Ernest Haeckel proposed theory called biogenetic law. Animal embryonic development, egg to adult repeats and recapitulates in condensed from the stages. So ancestors have passed in the course of their evolution. So in simply you can say ontogeny. What do you call ontogeny? What happened here? Fish larva, tadpole larva. Fish passed to form the tadpole larva. That only. Animal embryonic development, egg to adult repeats, recapitulates in condensed form the stages. So ancestors have passed in the course of the evolution. That is only biogenetic law. Simply say ontogeny repeats the phylogeny. Life history of an individual repeats the evolutionary history of the animals. So like that, ontogeny repeats the phylogeny. Then come to paleontological evidences. What is the next one? Paleontology is the study of fossils. Fossils are the preserved remains or impressions for the dead animals and plants that lived in remote Archaeopteryx birds. So you see Archaeopteryx once upon a, what is the fossils first of all? Some millions years ago, dead bodies, that is, dead bodies are there, their bodies remains. So all will not decompose. For example, insect is stuck in the mud. Mud completely covers. The body will not decompose. Okay, that will be harden and retain the impressions of the body parts of that insect. Okay, so that they will be there in the lava and snow also. It provides the direct evidence. The fossils provides the direct evidences. For example, dinosaurs. So easily we are telling or not, an Archaeopteryx is the connecting link between the missing link between the reptiles and birds. So reptile characters, teeth, jaw, tail, bird character, feathers, beak, wings. See, fossils forms layer by layer. First, 100 million years ago, invertebrates, then dinosaurs, then horse, like that one. So layer by layer, one is there in the accumulated in the earth layers. So those are called fossils. So fossils are formed from layer by layer. So like this, the different concepts are good evidences for the we all are coming from common ancestors, like that we can confirm.